Hello friend. I want to tell you about the Volvo XC70 car. The Volvo XC70 is an ideal choice for those looking for a large, comfortable estate car that can take you to places accessible to off-road SUVs. The car is very desirable on the market and, despite its age, maintains very high prices. What should you know before buying? The car appeared on the market in 2000, and although it differs significantly from its predecessor, it has the same function. It is an alternative to an SUV, which Volvo did not yet have in its offer. It was only 2 years later that the larger XC90 appeared, and the smaller XC60 completed the range in 2008. Thanks to this, the XC70 has remained to this day as a very popular and multifunctional premium car, often used even for work. The Swedes advertised it as an off-roader, but not too much. Although it has a 20-centimeter ground clearance, a nicely shaped floor and four-wheel drive, you can't trust its capabilities too much. The tires will still be key. It's better to be pleasantly surprised and use the car on a relatively even surface, even muddy, sandy or snowy. We advise against going to a terrain where the body starts to work hard on turning, because you can damage the bumpers. These are what distinguish the XC70 from regular versions. They are made of unpainted plastic, like the wheel arch and sill covers. Their purpose is to protect the body from stone chips or scratches. Technically, the XC70 is a slightly different car than the V70. First of all, it is tuned differently, with a soft suspension that is not really suitable for fast cornering. The four-wheel drive is handled by the electronically controlled Haldex, also known from Volkswagen cars and other Volvo models. It works efficiently and effectively fulfills its function in such a car. Nevertheless, you can't count on such handling on loose surfaces as in the Subaru Forester, Outback or even the Audi A6 Allroad, which have permanent 4x4 drive. The suspension system uses spring struts at the front and a multi-link at the rear. As I mentioned, the suspension is soft and has a surprisingly large travel for an estate car. It is worth using parts, shock absorbers and springs, designed for this specific model. It is a pity to spoil the characteristics with too large a rim diameter. In our opinion, 17 inches is the maximum. The XC70's cabin basically corresponds to the V70, so it is well made, in the style typical of the brand and spacious. The boot offers a capacity of only 485 liters, but its great advantage is its shape. The vertically falling rear flap does not limit its space, and the steel grid dividing the space into luggage and passenger allows the former to be used up to the roof. Engines. The range of engines in the XC70 was modest and consisted only of 5-cylinder, turbocharged engines with at least 163 horsepower. Such parameters are achieved by the 2.4 D5 diesel unit, introduced to the offer in 2002. Previously, only the 2.4T petrol with 200 HP was used, which was gradually phased out when it was replaced in the same year by the 2.5T petrol with 210 HP. The fourth engine was the second D5 diesel, more modern and generating 185 hydrogen phosphide, offered from 2005 to 2007. Manual gearboxes were used only from 2004. Before that, the standard equipment was the 5-speed Geartronic automatic. It remained in the offer until the end of production. Which engine to choose? It can be assumed that each of them is good, and what's more, they are among the best engines in their classes. Both petrol and diesel engines are characterized by high work culture, high durability, reliability, and fuel consumption. Theoretically, diesel should burn an average of about 6 to 7 L, 100 kilometers, and this result can be easily achieved on the road. However, the real, average fuel consumption may be higher by a liter or two. Unfortunately, petrols need a minimum of 12 L, 100 kilometers, and usually more. In general, petrol-powered units are almost twice as fuel-hungry, but also more dynamic. After installing a gas system, the costs in this area are equalized. However, there is still the aspect of repair costs. Unfortunately, cars usually have high mileage, It is true that D5 diesels are extremely durable and can travel up to 500,000 kilometers without major repairs, but unfortunately it can be assumed that especially the models from the first years of production have already done so much. Petrol is a safer choice here, although not without its flaws. Some engines may consume oil, but don't worry about excessive consumption. In gas-powered models, cylinder head failures can be expected. Timing belt cracks also occur, because the manufacturer has planned to replace it every 160,000 kilometers. A bit too much, although most engines have covered such a mileage without a problem. It is worth remembering to change the oil only to synthetic 0W30 or 5W30, regardless of the car's mileage. However, not every 20–30,000 kilometers as the manufacturer recommends, because this way the turbocharger gives up faster. It is better to shorten the period to 10,000 kilometers. The same service recommendations should be applied to the D5 turbodiesel, where one of the problems is the particulate filter. It has been installed in every model manufactured since 2005. You should be especially careful with the accessory drive in the newer version. It is best to replace it according to the recommendations every 90,000 kilometers, and at the same time check the condition of the tensioner during each service. Its damage can lead to the belt breaking, which in turn can get into the timing drive. In early diesels, the injectors were fragile, but all have a durable turbocharger. This is a variable geometry turbine, which will increase the cost of replacing it. The more powerful D5 engines are equipped with intake length control flaps, which should be inspected because they tend to break off. Despite the above comments, you shouldn't be scared. Each engine is very good and the choice is mainly a matter of taste and needs. However, it should be remembered that diesel equipment is more complicated and extensive than in petrol engines. Usually, these engines also have much higher mileage, and although the 163 HP engine is more reliable, it is also more worn out. In our opinion, before purchasing a vehicle you should not, if it is not necessary, be guided by the type of fuel, but by the technical condition of the vehicle, its mileage and documentation. What's broken? There are no worries about the 4x4 drive, which is incredibly durable if you change the oil in the clutch every 60,000 kilometers. The bigger worry is the automatic transmission, which can give up after 200,000 kilometers. Any malfunctions are usually caused by the controller, the replacement of which is quite expensive. Depending on the scope of the repair and where it is carried out, the cost of restoring the transmission to working order or factory condition can be from 5 to 10,000 kilometers. Even periodic servicing requires special attention and knowledge, so find a really good specialist who knows the Geartronic gearbox and remember to change the oil regularly. Neglect of oil and improper maintenance are the main causes of automatic failures. Of course, it also has its advantages. If it is fully functional, it works smoothly and works particularly well off-road. However, in such an old car, we recommend choosing the version with a manual gearbox for off-road driving. This one has no disadvantages and rarely breaks down. You have to remember that when you decide on a manual, you also have a clutch with a dual-mass flywheel in the drivetrain. Also in petrol engines, it's good that these are durable elements. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said about electrical contacts, which corrode over time and are usually the cause of the electrics going crazy. Of course, it is not a Frenchman, but sometimes Volvo requires the intervention of an experienced electrician. We do not advise using garages that immediately suggest replacing a component before thoroughly diagnosing the fault, because in the case of Volvo, the costs can be very high. The durability of the suspension should be rated as an A-. We give this minus for the durability of the front wishbone, but it is made of steel, unlike Audi or BMW, and can be fully regenerated by replacing the bushings and the pin. There is no need to answer this question. The car is very desirable, and not by accident. Its functionality, build quality and the comfort it offers are beyond dispute. It has good engines and drives well off-road. The only flaw is the expensive to repair automatic. Thank you for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.
I have good news for you. Now, if you are planning to buy a used car, or learn more about your car, you no longer need to search for the information you need on the internet. We have collected everything in one place for you, on the website carme.pro. Here you can find out everything about the car, what breaks and at what mileage, any problems with engines, chassis or gearboxes, which trim levels are better not to mess with, and how not to lose money buying a used car. You will learn all this on carme.pro.